Right, we're talking about Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. Remember, first female Chancellor in history as well. I only chucked that into the mix because, I hadn't even actually really thought of it until we spoke to our last guest, who was Emma Wilkinson, the life coach, and she was saying that, it's important that, you note that it's a woman in what was traditionally a man's role, and often, you have that stereotype of women being a bit weak and prone to crying. So, I mean, that possibly adds even more fuel to this, doesn't it? That she probably needed to try and keep it together. Just, because you're already going to be judged potentially in a negative way. Is it unprofessional? I suppose is the nub of this question. And no, I totally accept the fact that there was probably something going on. I mean, Keir Starmer said in an interview yesterday it was nothing to do with politics. They were pretty quick to sort of, try and deal with this, as you would do politically. And so if it's something in her family and her private life, then it is absolutely none of our business. But the problem is it sort of becomes our business a bit when it's so public like this, and it also has an effect on the markets, which it did do. Especially off the back of what was a very, very difficult time for the government anyway. They all sort of needed to rally around the flag and try and show a bit of strength, and this has just torpedoed all that, hasn't it? And the welfare reform bill failing dismally. What do you think? 0800 121 8181. Tim in Malvern, I have no sympathy with Rachel or the Prime Minister. They have treated older people appallingly and they deserve all they get. Someone else here says, in my opinion, that wasn't crying. Well, I mean, what was it then? I mean, go and look at the pictures. They're everywhere. Those are two whopping great tears down her cheek. Go back and watch the video. She is definitely crying. I mean, I know we think that MPs fib about everything, but I really think those are actual proper tears, unless she's, a brilliant actress and can turn them on at the drop of a hat. Let's speak to Noel McDermott, who's a mental health expert and a psychotherapist. Hello, Noel. Good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
Good to speak to you.
Thanks.
What do you think about this? It's it's a tough one on a sort of human level, but equally, was it the right thing to do in terms of her job to be there?
I'm surprised that we have headlines today. Somebody cried at work. And this is news. So crying is a natural thing that human beings do. In fact, emotional crying, there are three types of tears. There's a normal background, wet in your eyes, tears to keep your eyeballs lubricated. There's the extra lubrication if something irritant gets into your eyeball. And then there are what are called emotional tears, which are pretty unique to humans and are an important part of our biological mechanism for managing stress hormones in the body. So somebody crying at work isn't news. Somebody crying at work is just somebody being a healthy, normal human being. But
Noel, with respect, she's not just somebody, is she? She's the Chancellor. She's, in terms of financially, she's probably the most powerful person in the country. And how she presents, I suppose, matters, doesn't it? It has a real world effect.
Well, we need to manage the fact that we have a system that is turning this normal, healthy human response into something abnormal. And that's a question for us as a society, surely.
But wouldn't it be the same?
Not for somebody just having an emotional response.
But it would be the same in any workplace, wouldn't it? If somebody in the middle of their office burst into tears and started sobbing. I mean, I know you'd hope people would be sympathetic.
It's happening right now, I'm telling you, in workplaces around the globe right now, in the UK. People are in tears.
I accept that, Noel.
Nobody is getting wound up about it.
No, but what I'm saying is that the people immediately around them will talk about it, because it is unusual, isn't it? I mean, it's not the most unusual thing in the world
for people to cry at work.
Well,
at all.
I don't know what the drama is about this. It is a bit. I mean, I can probably
depends on your work, maybe.
Well, I work for the
work environment.
Work for the BBC.
I mean, in a toxic work environment, which had unrealistic expectations about behaviour and conduct, then maybe this sort of dramatic response to a normal human processing of emotion would seem to the toxic work environment appropriate. But it is inappropriate to say to somebody that they can't have normal biological processes going on while
I
they're
totally
at
agree
work.
with you, and you're right. Yeah, absolutely. And if one of my colleagues burst into tears, I mean, it has actually happened to me once. I remember someone being incredibly upset, and I just took, gave them a hug and took them off to a corner and had a chat with them and calmed them down. And when we had, that would be the response. But it still got everyone in the office talking because it was an unusual event.
Right, and my contribution to that conversation in the office is get on with your own life. Let's just deal with the fact that somebody is normally processing emotions and we're having abnormal reactions to it. The reason for me being here is to say, well, this is just what human beings do. There are human beings right now all up and down the country who are having feelings, and sometimes those feelings get turned into tears. Now, the sorts of emotions that can get turned into tears are laughter, grief, sadness, all sorts of feelings, because it's a biological process dealing with the neurochemicals in our body. And it's a normal, healthy thing. Now, there are, you mentioned in the lead up to this, issues around gender, and there are sort of very, very damaging gender stereotypes that go on, particularly for guys, and maybe it is an issue for guys here, where men are shamed into showing when they show their feelings and their vulnerability. And that leads to all sorts of problems for men. Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Maybe it's an issue that.
But would it not have been better?
Maybe there is a gender issue.
But would it not have been better for? What I'm saying is, would it not have been better for her? For her personally, forget the politics of this. Her as a human being. If she, especially with what she was about to have to do, which was sit behind the Prime Minister and be attacked, basically, because you know what Prime Minister's Question Time is about. She would know. She knows what's coming. Would it not have been better for her if she knew she was upset to go, look, I can't really do this and not be
and
there?
there would have been just as much drama if she'd left the room. The sort of micro stuff that goes on around this is nonsense. What we're talking about
it's not nonsense if 3 billion quid gets knocked. But it's £3 billion has been wiped off the value of the country. Okay.
And it'll come back. It's like this really dramatic stuff. The markets will be fine. They're not going to end because somebody cried in the British Parliament. That's not the way it works, right? So let's get rid of the drama around that, and let's look at the opportunity we have here. We absolutely do have a political system that is highly toxic and dysfunctional to the point where many people have disengaged from it.
Yeah, that's
and here is a normal human person having a normal human reaction, and we're then turning that into something like there's something wrong with it. And then we have questions like, why are people fed up with politics? Well, look, it's just a person who cried at work. What's the big deal?
Yeah, no, that is a very fair point as well. No, lovely to speak to you, mate. Thank you very much for coming over to the chat.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Noel McDermott, mental health expert. He's got a podcast as well on YouTube called The Wellbeing Show if you want to go and check it out. So, he raises some very interesting points, really does.